Hi, I'm Christy Hartigan, and this is my husband Drew, and we're going to go through a short video on using conversational intelligence tools that we had for a very real challenge that he had with his job situation and that impacted our family, so it also demonstrates a bit of the scalability of conversational intelligence. So the scenario is,
in March, I reached a point where I knew my job was tenuous. There was a loss of trust between me and my executive leadership, and we realized it was probably going to end one way or the other. But if my job ended, it changed many, many things, including where we would live, potentially, where our children would go to school, where Christy would work, and all the things that trickle down or domino from that set of changes. So we decided to address this not as a job journey or a job change, but as a whole life set of conditions that we needed to address together. And we chose to do it as a journey and a positive embrace the experience kind of journey. And so we did that with CIQ.
Yeah, so I asked him, do you mind if we use CIQ for this? And he said, well, absolutely, because we had been discussing various CIQ tools that he could use in his job scenario for months and months and months prior to this. So we started with aspirations for the...
Started with that one, number one.
Oh, sorry.
The rules of engagement.
Okay, so we started with rules of engagement, and of course this was priming for trust. And initially, Drew was like, okay, do we really need to do this? And I said, yes, we do. And then what happened as we were going through rules of engagement together, brainstorming them? How did we want the conversation to go?
Well, it truly became a journey together. The act of coming up with the ROE together on how we were going to do it created the positive journey environment that we were looking for. This is not going to be a chore, this is not going to be a hassle, this is not going to be a burden, but we're going to make it into a stimulating transition. And that became clear because and when we did the ROE.
I think you mentioned that you actually felt a shift during...
Yeah, I felt good about it. Instead of feeling daunted by a job change, I felt good about a journey.
Oxytocin. Okay, so then we went into aspirations for the conversation, which moved us into our prefrontal cortex and our executive functioning brains as we really got into, wow, what could this really be about? A, if you got fired and we had something really sudden to deal with, or B, if we were able to plan it at least for 3 or 4 weeks, we didn't know. So there was a level of uncertainty, and you were really truly entering into a liminal space. So then what happened?
Well, then we decided to look at it with a 10-year lens and not a 3-week, 3-month lens, and picture or envision our 10-year, where we want to be and what kind of place we want to be in and how do we want to get there, and work to create that vision, with this being step number 1.
Right. And holistically looking at it, we thought about, okay, let's also bring in, what do we really value at this stage in our lives and in our careers? What's the narrative around those values? And then how are we going to align our behaviors with the value? Because we knew it was going to impact the whole family.
And not just align those behaviors with the now, but with the next 10 years.
Yeah. Right. Then we took a break and we went on a little trip together, right? And continued talking about this. Came back and actually wrote down some of the things that we talked about for hours on this little trip. And continued the conversation with a framework of what are our 4 cornerstones for this transition. Then by that time, Drew knew that he was going to leave the company, I think. Is that right?
Not quite.
Not quite? Okay. So why don't you talk a little bit about the 4 cornerstones?
Yeah, so a weekend of driving, 6 hours on the road, became, okay, what, we have a picture that we're beginning to form here over the next 10 years, and clearly don't know what it will look like for the whole 10 years, but we at least want to pick out the four, our metaphor was a puzzle, the four corner pieces, and what are those four corner pieces, and then we will create the middle spaces as we go, but we defined the four corner spaces of how we're going to take this journey.
Yeah, and that took double clicking, it took asking questions for which we really didn't have answers yet. We did go back to our ROE and look at it again throughout numerous conversations. So we went back and we were really happy with the, let's see, looks like around 12 things that we had in our, how we were going to be together during these conversations. So how did it turn out? How did you find?
Well, this is now a 3-month effort, really almost 4 now, March, April, May, and June. And at the end of May, I left my company on my terms, and beginning of June began working with another company. And it all now, it's not clear how it will all fit together, but we know that it will fit into the longer term vision, and some of the dominoes have fallen, so we know where our daughter will go to school next year, and we know we're not going to move for at least a year. But it all transitioned in a state of managed peace.
Well, do you remember some of the conversations we had about the conversational dashboard? Remember the dashboard, and especially before you decided to leave the company, identifying where you were on the dashboard, where your CEO was on the dashboard.
Yeah, all of that though is left of this set of charts, but how that company was behaving and how they were performing, and where they really sat and where the individuals sat on that levels of conversational intelligence and their conversation dashboard made it more and more clear that that's why we had to plan to leave.
Yeah, I think at one point you said that your CEO was in a constant level 1 from a telesales standpoint conversation. And now, fast forward to post leaving that company, and now you're with your new company, again reporting at the executive level to the CEO. And I hear you come home using the language of, I have level 3 conversations all day long.
Yeah, with a team that respects and appreciates and seeks the same.